This is my celluloid film print collection, something I'm both very proud of and very tired of. Let's talk. So here's the story. A little after high school, I saw a film called Lost Forever: The Art of Film Preservation. This movie is all about films from the silent era that have been lost to time, and maybe movies from a little later on in film history. It's been a while since I've seen it. As a result, this caused me to want to buy up every single film print in existence and preserve it like nobody's business. Now, whether or not I was successful in preserving films, well, yeah. There are probably a multitude of reasons to project on film and to collect films. The number one reason I can think of is that being a projectionist is a dying art due to many theaters being digital only projection. But for someone like me, the reason why I like to collect and project on film is very simple. That's just one of the many reasons why I enjoy projecting on film. So, as for a reason or two or maybe 100 as to why you may not want to purchase film prints or get into projecting, might be the price of film prints as well as the quality. A lot of films, even 8mm, I've seen go for hundreds of dollars when they're just a 7 to 8 minute version of the film. Not only that, but with color films, you best expect that you're going to get a red dye print. And this is because film is an organic compound that breaks down over time. And the colors, if the film isn't stored properly, will tend to bleed into each other, thus making the red stand out and making the film very difficult to restore to any sort of color. Yes, there are filters to add some blues to the image, but once it's red, you can't really fix it without using computers. Another reason is threading. Now, when you start collecting films, the easiest way to go is through 8mm and Super 8 films. You can find these at practically every thrift store or antique shop that you go to. The only problem is that when you're threading these projectors, a lot of the films have been sitting in their cans for God knows how many years, thus meaning that the film is going to be fragile and will break very easily. So whoever thought it was a good idea to invent this thing called an auto-load projector, I hate you. I have worked with about 4 or 5 auto-load projectors before, and only one has ever worked successfully. In fact, the projector that you're seeing right now is an auto-load. However, it doesn't perform the way an auto-load should. You should be able to feed the film into the front claw, and it should travel the rest of the way just fine. As a result, a lot of my favorite films have been damaged or ripped apart because of this auto-load mechanism. So what I tend to do is break down as many pieces and parts as I can in order to thread the projector manually, thus ensuring that if there are any screw-ups along the way, it's my fault. And on that note, if you do happen to run across any problems with your projector, good luck finding many, if at all any, people capable of fixing your problem with the projector. Yes, there are a lot of online forums and digital manuals for projectors, but sometimes the parts may be discontinued, thus forcing you to find workarounds that might hurt your projector instead of helping it. So unless you live in a big city that has a relatively dedicated film community, your best bet is just to look for a refurbished projector, bite the bullet on the price tag, so that way you can at least enjoy your film without worrying. Speaking of threading, a huge problem I've discovered was that you're going to spend a lot of time while watching your movie making sure that the projector is functioning properly. Whether it's making sure the sound is right or that the film is guiding along the correct path, you are going to be spending half, if not more time, especially with 8mm films, fixing your projector and diverting your eyes away from a movie you could have spent a lot of money on. And I understand that they cut the movie down and chop it up for copyright reasons, but for someone who wants to enjoy the movie as a whole, I would have to add practically a mile of leader tape to the film just so I can watch the entire thing start to finish. And last but not least, I have never worked a projector without getting a sty. It doesn't matter how many times I have washed my hands. It doesn't matter how many times I've tried to do anything to take preventative steps from getting a sty. I will always get one. You can always wear editing gloves or just something to create a barrier between the film print and yourself because of the egregious amount of dust on the surface of both the film print and the projector. However, maybe it's just because my body is hypersensitive, but I have always gotten a sty. So that was projecting on film. Now, as far as shooting on film, that's a topic for another day.